I think there's a space right now that's been created that has made it okay to be a person of faith. But that's a gift. That's not a given. That's not automatic.
Yep.
And I think because it exists, people are stepping in and exploiting it.
Hey guys, I'm here with my great friend Darius Bell, and we're going to be talking a bunch today about content creation, why you need to do it, and how you just need to lean into authentically who you are and who God's designed you to be. And if you are a Jesus-following Christian business owner, there's a couple other things we're going to talk about that you need to hear. Check it out. Are you a faith-based father and looking for intentional ways to connect with your son in a big way? If so, you have to check out the Father-Son Hike of a Lifetime on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. June 2025, I am taking a group of faith-based fathers and their sons over to Spain for 9 days and the adventure of a lifetime. Go check it out at mattshoup.com/Spain. On that page, you'll actually see all of my upcoming Spain adventures, but make sure to check out the Father-Son Hike of a Lifetime. Darius Bell.
Oh, we got to shake hands again, huh?
What's up, man?
All right. I love it.
Good to see you.
It's wonderful to be here.
We were just talking offline. You've produced hundreds and hundreds of podcasts.
Yeah, episodes. A couple hundred, and co-hosted just under 100. But this is my first time solo, sitting on the other side of the table.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to hang out.
You're excited. I'm nervous, which is actually the same thing as excited. But
it is. Yeah.
But I'm here.
I'm so excited. So this whole studio, before we launched our first episode, you helped us put this together.
I had some contribution, just a little bit. We did it together. Me, you, and Francis.
Yeah. You were like, here's what to do.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm doing, because we were on another podcast.
Yeah.
I was on a podcast that you produced, and I'm like, I like this setup. How do you do this?
Yeah.
And here we are.
I came in, I was blown away to see the changes. It looks wonderful.
And our frames don't skip anymore. So our first, what was it, Joey? Like 12?
Oh, man.
More than 12.
I think
a couple episodes.
It was like 10 or 12 or something like that.
It was just a button. It was settings. It's an
HDMI output settings.
Yep.
The frame rates weren't jiving.
They weren't.
Going into the ATEM?
Going into the ATEM, yeah. From the cameras, I had to.
Yep. Now that you say it, I'm like,
it was 60 FPS, and we were shooting 23. And
I understand. Yeah, I feel like I understand that. Man, so catch me up. We've bumped into each other a few times.
Yeah.
It's been at least a year. I was stopping to get gas real quick one night and bumped into you.
Yeah.
And we caught up, and you've had some changes, and you got some cool stuff going on.
I've had some changes in the last 8 weeks. So last 8 weeks, I stepped away from my team that I was with. So our mutual friend, dear friend, Samson, Jeremy and Sam, over at Clearly Acquired and Painted Profits, I decided to make a change and step away. And over the last 8 weeks, honestly, I got a few clients that I can help with brand consulting, brand strategy, storytelling, content, and I'm figuring out what entrepreneurship, my path in conjunction with, obviously, in partnership with God, what that looks like. And so it's a new, exciting space, but it's been revealing in many ways of going 0 to 1 it's different solo than it is with partners. And it's been fun. It's been fun, but it's been revealing in terms of the guts you have, the quality you put out, or the lack of, and your ability to figure out systems and all these different things that you don't really know. I remember conversations that Samson and I would have. We would talk about it, and you don't really know until you're in it. And so
it looks one way when you see somebody else doing it, and then you go, okay, I'm going to do this. I can do this. Yeah. I do this. And then you're in it. Oh, it's a different switch.
Michael Gerber was right when he called it an entrepreneurial seizure. It seizes you, and you there's things that you're like, oh yeah, I got that. And you're right, but you don't know what you don't know. And I can just say over the last 8 weeks, I've taken a couple shots, and I'm like, wow, I thought I was better at that, or I thought I understood that, or I thought I was confident in sales. And actually I can look back and look at my emails going out or calls being made and say, oh, actually, you're not that confident. And why is that? Because you got to get clear on this, or you got to get clear on that. Yeah.
So leading up to that, right? Because Samson, I mean, what he's built with Clearly Acquired and Pursuit and everything they have going on. I mean, the content and the media and his heart and his passion, dynamic guy. You know, and you had a chance to be part of that team.
Yeah, for sure.
Grow that. see that grow. And I'm always interested as, the business owner, when you've got a great leader, somebody like you working on the team like that. What was that perspective of the difference for you being on the team? And, he had gone 0 to 1 at that point, right? Or you guys went 0 to 1, but how's it just different when you're solo? 'Cause the reason I ask is there's a lot of people that come here and they're working for a business. They want to launch a business. That business is keeping them busy. They know they're called to do that. There's that leap of faith. So just kind of go through all of that, being there, making that decision. I know there's a lot of questions in those questions there.
I think the biggest thing is starting your own thing or venturing out into your own. So you have this thought, you're going to do this. I think you've heard it said before, but I think we don't talk about it enough, is the necessity of wearing all the hats. So what we were doing with Paying the Profits, and clearly, we all wore different hats, and we didn't really have to wear each other's hats because of the partners we had. There were things that Samson and Jeremy and Sam were doing that I didn't have to do because they were wearing those hats, and likewise. And so, but when you're like, it's me, you're wearing all those hats, and you look at the chart, you look at the chart you make, the org chart, and it's like, you're there, you're there, you're there, you're there. And I think when you actually start to live that out and work that out, I think it's more difficult than you realize. Yeah. But you have to do it.
So it's a wake up call, or kind of a shot, like, well, here, you want it, here you go. You got it. Now you're in it. Right?
We've heard it said so much, just how hard entrepreneurship is. And I'm not by any means saying it's not, but I think there's just a degree of perseverance and focus, and stamina and getting used to fatigue that I think it should be more normalized and talked about a bit more.
Within the community.
Yeah, within the community
just
of
that we
entrepreneurs.
recognize it, talk about it.
100%. Yeah. And even understanding, the conversation you have to have with your family, your spouse, of these are things that I have to do right now in order to figure this out over the next year, 2 years. And I just, it's hard.
Do you think, did you not realize the severity of it or the intensity of it, maybe because it's not discussed as much?
I think I did understand it. I think I understood it. I think what I didn't have clarity on was all the steps I was going to need to take along the way. I didn't have clarity on that. I knew like my lane and what I can do and how I can help the businesses. But if you're not careful, for example, you'll spend all your time working on this piece of content or this strategy or this thing and you look up and the week's over and your sales efforts have been low.
Yeah.
But 80% of what you should be doing early on is sales, arguably, because you need clients, you need people, you need customers. Yes, you want to fulfill. Yes, you want to deliver. Yes, you want your product to be great, but you have to have revenue. You have to have cash flow. The bills have to be paid. And so those have been like revealing moments of like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm delivering this for these clients. But the truth is I actually need 5 more.
Yeah.
And the efforts I've put in to go and get those 5 more this week haven't been super high compared to the output of delivering on the content or doing this thing or having that meeting or coaching that client and understanding their brand or having this discovery session. So I think you really, there's some things you just are like, wow, I got to really prioritize my time, and I really gotta, not everything has equal priority, basically.
So if you would have gone back to day one and reshifted some of that focus, what would you have changed? Where did you spend the focus? Where was it too much? Where would you have shifted it?
I would have, over the last 8 weeks, I would have spent less time, I would have spent more time reaching more business owners. Because there's some things that I've done in the last couple of weeks, in particular, like going on location and shooting and coming up with this. That's great, but it probably would have been better to make sure I just coached a client and help them do that rather than me being there. Right? Yeah. I can think of one example recently. I was there for about 2.5, 3 hours, accomplishing a video, some capturing of some content. But the truth is, if I'd have been more dialed in and helped them understand what they needed to make, they probably could have did that and I could have spent the other time doing sales or editing another client or doing something else. And so I think the thing about time in business and in life is you should think about how you use it.
Yeah.
Consistently think about how you use it. And when you think about how you want to use it, I think you should erect systems and have principles and things that you stand for in your business, in your life, that align with how you want to use that. Because it's going to be used regardless. And you're going to take that next meeting, or you're going to meet that friend that wants to hear about what you're doing, when actually you need to say, no, I can tell you about it in a couple months.
Yeah. Do you need a new roof or new paint job on your home or business and live in Northern Colorado? If so, check out one of our sponsors, M&E Painting and Roofing. We've been around for 20 years here in the community, and full disclosure, I am the M in M&E. Check them out at mndepainting.com. Are you a business owner who is struggling to understand and navigate the world of digital media? If so, check out one of our sponsors, Imprint Digital. They are the go-to source for everything digital related to your business. Not only are they a sponsor, but they also take care of all of our company's website. They produce this podcast, and I highly recommend them. Check them out at imprint-digital.com.
Yeah.
Well, and saying no, because that zero, so you have a steady, secure job, great company, great people, right? That's feeding the family. There's that leap of faith when you jump ship. That's what I call it. And then you're there. How long did it take to go from that 0 to 1 for you?
So I'll say 1 in terms of first client. How about that?
Yeah.
It was about a week.
So within that week, right? Because I know people, like I got fired from the bank Tuesday afternoon, took the $100, opened the business, went and knocked on doors, scheduled appointments, booked at 10 a.m. that Saturday. So I was Tuesday lunchtime, Saturday 10 a.m. However, 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. So
and that in between, I'm like, so how is that space? How was that for you?
Yeah, well, it was fine. Honestly, it was fine. I'll tell you what. The reason why it was fine is because there wasn't a lot of negativity in that space. So my wife was on board with the change I was making. My kids were informed, and even my partners weren't rooting against me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't rooting against me. So I didn't have this space of negative interactions and conversations and things that I was working through or had to go and amend and repair. I had people that, even though, like my partners, that were like disappointed in a sense of like,
they don't want to lose you,
right? You're
like,
leaving the team.
Yeah.
My partners were rooting for me at the same time. And so maybe I'm uncommon in that aspect, where a lot of people might face transition with a lot of negative things, but it was pretty positive for me. And so Tuesday I had the conversation. By Friday, Saturday morning, I had my first client.
Okay.
So
yeah, love that. But you left well.
Yeah,
I
sought to.
We've had people here that we don't want to leave, that we knew were going to leave, and they left well, and still friends, still support them. We've had people leave here that didn't leave well.
Yeah, you don't have to leave well.
Business. Yeah, so it's like, but because you left well, I believe that space of positivity, at least in that aspect, was there.
I think that's a unfortunate aspect of business that happens a lot. Is there's a lot of negative, I don't want to say connotation, but there's a lot of negativity that surrounds people's departures from teams or leaving companies, and really, it should go a bit more pleasant than that if we were all functioning as adults. But that tone is set when you come into a company, though.
Yes.
So if you don't have the kind of dialogue up front that and culture up front that creates the kind of dialogue, people are not gonna leave well.
Yeah.
And so what we did, we always had great conversations and candid conversations. We actually had a motto: no hard conversations. That was one of our mottos on the team, was like, no hard conversations. You're going to be mad at this conversation, but it's okay. We're going to have it. Or you're going to have to hear someone telling you you're not handling your weight, but it's okay. And so those make for the kind of space for someone to leave well, because they came in well.
Yeah. And you had, so leaving well, and then your wife's support. So, 'cause I see a lot of people start business, but from a job, and they may or may not have that, didn't have that conversation. How did you do that to set that up well? Because I think we both know that's huge.
Well, one, your wife knows you. I mean, if you have I shouldn't speak for every wife, but my wife knows me. So, and the way we talk every night, right? So the things we discuss, changes, happenings, thoughts, ideas, she wasn't blindsided. It wasn't a what? How could this? Why are you making it? It wasn't that at all. It was, hey, I am processing this, or I had this thought, and we're working through this. Hey, I think this is the time. There was already enough repetitions of the conversations we had, so it wasn't something new that was being introduced to her. Yeah.
Love that, man. So share a little bit more about what you do. You did in generalities, but I love the space you're in, and I love your perspective on content creation and the long game with it. Why more people should do it. Yeah. What a small space it actually is, believe it or not. So just jump into that, man, because I remember when we spoke together at was it a Clearly conference? Who put? I know it was Samson that put it on. Yeah, it was a Clearly Acquired conference up at Timberline Church.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I loved what you talked about, man.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of layers to that, but ultimately, what I'm doing. So I have 4 clients right now, and what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks with these clients is we're working through one. They need to understand what their brand is, and what makes your brand, right? And they need to understand their story. They need to understand, the platforms and the different things, the environment that they're navigating in this digital landscape. And the way I'm fitted to serve them is to really try to help them get a clear. Being willing to embrace who they are is the biggest thing, and that flows from brand to content. Is, can you actually embrace who you are? Can you actually embrace what you're trying to do?
Because would you argue some people don't know who they are and then start with the content, or they know and they don't embrace it?
I think there's some of both in there. Okay. I think as it relates to a lot to content and marketing, I think a lot of people have lost sight of the fact that I think a lot of people, it's like you don't want to tell someone what to think. You want to maybe teach them how to think. And I think in the marketing and brand and content space, we've done a lot of telling people what to think, what to do. And instead, we should be showing people how to think, how to do this, and how to go about making this, how to go about running a campaign, how to go about creating an ad, how to go about writing copy in a way that's, because on the other side of that is the consumer, right? Yeah. And we've made a lot of assumptions over the last, I've been in the marketing space for 8 years, and we've made a lot of assumptions, whether it's do this formula, whether it's all I have to do is run this ad and run it in this way, or we make a lot of assumptions that disregard the consumer. And so when I'm trying to help these clients, I'm trying to help them, one, accept who they are, what's really true about their business, because if they can do that, based on where marketing is, based on where algorithms are, they can more accurately be positioned to reach the person they're trying to reach if they can embrace who they are, what they're genuinely trying to do, why they've genuinely set out to do it, and harness and start telling that story. And so versus getting caught up on their logo versus some other definitions of, brand and marketing. Who are you? What are you trying to do? Who's the people that make up your team? What are the unique personalities within your organization? There's some aspects of brand where people, like, your brand is how your customer feels about you about 1 or 2 minutes after they purchase from you. Yes. Are they excited about that? Are they, I'm not sure, let's see what happens this time. Last time it was this. But your brand is also the conversation you're having with yourself when you wake up Monday morning, and the conversation that your employees have when they come into the office Monday morning, when that alarm goes off. Those are all the things that are your brand. And within that, you have a bunch of different things, what we're doing, how we do it, how we interact. Those are all things you need to harness and start communicating. And so I try to help these business owners do that.
So are you looking more or working more with people with personal brands, or businesses
not
with
currently
brands?
Right now, I'm working with businesses.
Businesses with brands. Okay.
Yeah. And some of them have stronger brands of the 4. Some of them have weaker brands. Yeah. And it's so they have different needs. And so some of the stronger brands, they just need to understand systems, and they need to understand amplification and scale and getting the right person in the job. The weaker ones need to actually go back to the fundamentals, right? And what is your brand? What is your story? Why did you even start this business? Why? Right? When's the last time you just actually thought about that? Yeah. In the pursuit of having to sustain this business, why are you doing this? And And when you can get business owners thinking about that, now you're forming the components of a brand.
And do you see more, because you talked about the what to do, and there's just this landscape of this formula, do it this way, right? And these influencers or experts or
guru.
Just do this, right? And everybody's a guru versus how. So what you just talked about is those are the deeper or higher level things that a business needs to think about first.
Yeah.
And then there's a structure, like there's an X's and O's component to doing that. But everybody's just, hey, I'm the expert. Do this. You'll make $1 million. It's ClickFunnels BS.
Yeah.
Right. And you know when you're in a ClickFunnels.
Yeah, you know when you're in it. Yeah. And I mean, it's just a matter of I like to think of myself as someone who's trying to empower. The way I say it a lot is I'm trying to empower you to become your chief storyteller. Yep. Meaning I'm trying to do what I can and serve you in the capacity that leads you to find confidence in embracing who you are with your media, with your marketing, with talking about your business. Because if we can do that, I promise you, it puts you in a better position to reach the person you're trying to reach than all the other things you think that matter to them. Because the consumer buys because they want to buy. Yeah. The consumer watches and scrolls and clicks and engages because they want to do that. Well, why do they want to do that? Because they're a certain person with a certain perspective, with certain interests, certain values and desires and goals, right? And if you can embrace who you are and show that over and over, you're going to be positioned to connect with them.
Yeah, I love that. So why do people not do that? Is it that they don't realize they need to? Or like when you tell them this, do they go, oh man, I just didn't know that? Or is there a little hesitation once they realize?
I think the reason why people don't do that is the same reason why we don't do many things. It's because we're more often not worried about what other people think about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially in the personal brand space.
Yeah, and I can say that for my own self, right?
Yeah.
There's many things I haven't done, many posts I haven't clicked because I was worried about, maybe that won't land. Mm-hmm. But the ones that have had any success were ones where you're like, I got to get this out, send.
Yeah. I had one that hit, Joey, remember the one that hit? I got a ham leg for Christmas, a big Spanish ham leg.
Yeah.
And Emily's like, you're never going to have a ham leg in the house. I go, come on, Dave. Every year I'm like, get a ham leg. They have them everywhere. The big, hoof and cured ham leg. They have them everywhere in Spain. Every kitchen has one. She's like, we're not.
I've never seen a ham leg.
Oh, you haven't? Have you seen that video? And I grabbed it and threw it up in the air. The thing was huge.
No.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. But that's that was you being who you are.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And the story that surrounds it amplifies that. And so I really do think that embracing who you truly are, who God has made you to be, that's your leverage. That's your platform to obtain leverage.
Love that, man.
So yeah, and that's what I'm doing for business owners right now. And it's a work in progress. You're 8 weeks in, right? You're 8 weeks in. And I actually was just talking about this. I've become aware, actually, you asked me what like reflecting on the last couple of weeks. One of the things I reflected on recently was I actually made a post about this. It was like 12 different things. But one was the problem you're setting out to solve may not be the problem that needs to be solved. And over the last couple of weeks, I've had a few interactions that have made me really begin to say, maybe there's another problem here that I can actually begin to solve for them that goes beyond brand. Because there's been some commonalities that I've seen. And I'm like, I think there might be a bigger problem that business owners might need. It might be attached to what I'm doing, but it might not just be showing up like this. It might be this thing over here. So that's one aspect is fall in love with solving the problem for your customers, but it may mean you setting out to solve a different problem than you thought you were going to be solving for them. Yeah. Sleep is important. Sleep is super important. Yeah. When you're not sleeping well, you're not actually performing at your optimal levels. Yeah. And focus. There's a lot of things. I think Hormozy talks about the more, better, new. I think something like that. I think it's something like more, do it better, do new stuff. But I think starting out, especially in the media space, you can be coming across a lot of things. Like, for example, AI right now. AI is all the rave, and AI is a real thing, and AI is going to play ball in the spaces that we're in, especially if you're working with businesses and brands and marketing. AI is going to play a role. And so it's very tempting to be like, I need to spend this weekend figuring out the top platforms I need to learn and all these. No, actually, you need to spend this weekend really dialing in what next week is going to look like with sales. You're going to need to spend this weekend reading about a bio of a founder. You need to spend this weekend going to bed at 9:30.
The fundamentals.
Yeah, the fundamentals.
Doing the right things. And there's so much to do. I think when you start the business, you see so many things in front of you that at some point are going to be executed on.
Yeah.
But the basics are the basics.
Yeah.
Like go find the person who's your ideal client, find a way to connect with them to get an opportunity to serve them.
It's actually something I've started working on writing is I started putting together, not because I don't know why, but I just had this idea. I'm going to start putting together the basics of business as I'm figuring them out and going through it and growing through it, and relating it to sport right now. So I've been writing and relating it to sport, in particular basketball, and what goes into coaching basketball. But that notion of the basics, the fundamentals, I actually would probably venture to submit that that's what determines whether you're going to be successful or not.
Yeah.
It's not your idea. It's not necessarily your product. It's not necessarily your marketing or your great funnel. It's,
and I know I'll get tied up on that sometimes when, we got to have this and this. It's like, no, just who you serving? Where are they? Go talk to them.
And the reason why it matters,
yeah.
And the reason why it matters is because the basics determine whether or not someone else wants to play with you. It's like sport. If you're playing a sport, basketball, football, for example, you don't want to play with the person who doesn't know how to play the game. Even if they're not, you want to play with someone who knows how to play the game. And I think consumers and partners and vendors and, networks and affiliates are all the same way, that you want to be someone that people want to play the game with. But the only way you really get there is actually the basics.
Yeah.
And owning them and appreciating them, respecting them. You can look at the NBA. I'm going on a tangent here, but you can look at the NBA and there's plenty of players that are flashy and they get it done, but people don't want to play with them because there's basics in the game. Like take the greater percentage shot, not the one that you want to do and it looks great.
Yeah.
Or pass the ball to the
highlight
open
reel
man.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah, pass the ball to the open man. Or play weak side defense. These are basic things that make people's experience either great or poor, and that determines a lot of your success, I think.
Yeah, I love that.
So,
yeah. So how's with the first clients when they're realizing these things and you start to see them understand, execute on it? What kind of results are they seeing? Because there's the short results that they will see. There's obviously the long game of a lot of this stuff takes time.
Yeah.
But what's been your biggest maybe aha moment or cool win to see with a client right off the bat?
I think one of the great things I've seen thus far is as a result of a founder getting it, now his people are getting it. Even to the point where I'm already in a couple of weeks doing less on the production side, and I'm already settling in more to that strategist role because the founder got it, started embracing it, and now already, salespeople, office admin people are making content.
Yeah. Right.
And so that's been a great win thus far, is to see someone get it, because the whole point is, everybody wants to be the superstar. You want to be the person that helped. But I really love the fact that this owner would the light bulb went off. They saw it in the meetings. They saw it in the planning. They saw it in the first, couple of things we made and the results. Yeah. They get it. And now it's spread. And that's leadership. That's your brand. That's, this is who we are. And that person is now, because of what we did up front, that person is now, he's not telling the other people, do it this way. He's letting them be uniquely who they are in their positions and what they bring to the company along the way, which flows out of what we started with. And so that's been a great win thus far. And it's already going well. You can look at, you have access to platforms, so you can look at the messages, you can look at the replies, and you can see, people are, post more of this content. This is great. This is really informative and educational. We love this. Can you do more of this? Or seeing the notifications, they followed you from this video, several of them, right? And so that's been a significant win.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now with creating content, I want to shift a little bit because, back to when you shared this, it's a high 90% of the world just consumes content.
100%.
Right. And content creators, I think for me, right. And Joey and I, we've talked about this as you're out there and it seems like there's this huge pool of content and there's really not. And, I was way too broad in my messaging and Joey and I and Imprint, everybody talks about that. It's like there's a really niched focus of who I serve and who comes on the podcast, just who's out here, who I spend time with. Really, we're niching into that still. But everybody's watching it, man. There's not too many people
making it,
producing it.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's a lot of people producing because there's so much.
Yeah.
So how do people understand that? How do you get people to understand that?
Well, it's tough because the algorithms feed you as the consumer. They don't. They feed you as a consumer. They do somewhat feed you as the producer. But I think the one who wants to produce has to. It's tough to say. It's just a reality. To be frank with you, it's hard to like quantify it exactly. But all you have to do is, in my opinion, just flying it here is just like, hey, let's just say you want to make content about this. I would venture to say, in order to prove this, think about the people in your circle who have talked about doing content or doing what you want to do, that know that they need to do it. What percentage of them are actually doing it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And you'll probably find that it's probably 1 out of 5 and you being the one. Or maybe Jack is the one and you're going to be number 2. But I'm willing to venture that the people that you talk to about your ambitions and the things that you want to do that share that interest, if you look at if they're actually producing, they're probably not, and let that be a sort of validation. But there isn't necessarily content that exposes it. Maybe in the lack of diversity, actually, would probably be one indicator is the lack of diversity in content, the lack of unique DNA from each creator. If everyone sounds the same, then you probably know that people aren't, the number of people really producing is lower too, because we're all different.
Yeah.
So if you're not seeing a plethora of different forms and shades of content, then that's also probably one indicator that people aren't producing content. If you're looking for proof of that position.
Yeah. Do you think, because there's the general, like I love ClickFunnels and what Russell Brunson's built. Like ClickFunnels has a software, as a program to work somebody through the sales process. Great program and software. But when I say, oh, you're in a ClickFunnel, BS ClickFunnel, it's that guy that wants your money. Sure. Like doesn't care about you. You're a number. They're just running ratios and building crap, and they're saying the same old stuff, right? So they hook you with your problem and give you the 7 steps. Like you just know when you're in it, and then you buy the $19 thing. Joey, you've done it, right? We've done it. You buy the $19 thing and then the 99 and then it's 7 upsells. Yeah. And it's just the same crap. Like there's nothing new. So when you're hearing that kind of stuff, and you'll see it it's the space to create content. So it's somebody that's trying to make $1 million telling you how to make $1 million, telling somebody else how to do it. Yeah. It's the same old story.
Yeah. And we've created these pockets where people can operate, whether it's, I'm going to create to get you to a course, or I'm going to create to get you to this platform with other creators. And it's what's interesting is, I guess when I'm hearing that, I think the platforms and placements and things change, but how you make people feel is really, I think, really deterministic of the funnels and different things. So, for example, you land on a page that's it's a long extended page with an offer after offer and offer. It's not that necessarily that's a bad thing or doesn't work. It's that potential customer automatically feels something, and they automatically they felt it before. They associate other things with it, and so I think the thing is that we have to remember is the customers aren't dumb. Customers aren't dumb. And because we've gone again to here's what to think instead of how to think, we've made these patterns, these repeatable patterns and formulas and experiences that they smack of just like the other one. And the other one was just as cringe. So even you might be genuine, but because you're positioning it the way, just like everyone else does, you fall right into that bucket. And where content, where marketing is today, it hasn't changed. This one thing hasn't changed in the last, I'm going to say 10 years, but it's not going to change for the next 10, which is give people something of value. Yeah. Legitimately give them something of value. Not what you think is valuable or not what you say is valuable. You can easily make a Notion template and monetize that. Sure. Is that valuable? How do you know it's valuable? Well, who are you actually trying to help? So one of the reasons why, look at the value you bring. You consistently give to people. And I've been in I've had a few different interactions with you and over the years, and almost every time I've seen you giving something to somebody. It's no different in your content. If you want to grow a business, if you want to grow a brand, give them something. Whether it's something just to think about, that's valuable. If it's something to think about, it doesn't have to be I'm giving you this PDF file, or I'm giving you this access to this free course. It can just be, I'm giving you something genuine for me to think about. So
if you're a Christian business owner in Northern Colorado, check out one of our sponsors, the Foundry Advisory. The Foundry is a Christian peer-to-peer advisory network where you can plug in as a business owner, not only to talk about how to improve your business, but how to integrate your faith. Check them out at thefoundryadvisory.com. And remember, they're not only a sponsor, but I'm also a member of their group. If you have a story to share and you're thinking of becoming an author to do so, you have to connect with one of our sponsors, Scribe Media. I worked with Scribe to publish Painted Baby, and I'm currently working with them again to publish my next book, Pour Into People. Click on the link in the show notes below to connect with them, and they'll actually give you a little something extra because you came to them through me. Yeah, I did. I dropped, 300-400 just morning coffee videos, like 60 seconds, whatever's on my mind. It wasn't really planned out. Like, here's some motivation for a business owner right now.
Yeah.
Just right off the cuff.
I'm saying all that to say that when you do what you do, please keep in mind, we as business owners and entrepreneurs have to keep in mind the customer is feeling a certain kind of way. Are you paying attention to that? I know you're doing a lot of things and it's going to work and it's going to do this, but how are they feeling? Like, put yourself in their shoes. That's a great place to start from in everything that you're doing.
Well, you talk about that. So that's the most important thing. And you can't necessarily track that as a metric, or can you? Because you can track landings and clicks and conversions and your metrics. But how is there a way other than just feedback? Like, hey, will you genuinely tell me how you felt after you spent that money on that thing? You just ask them?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you just ask.
Yeah.
You just ask, or you create if you create a piece of content, for example, people will tell you how they feel. If you're consistently creating within a position to give something, people will tell you if that's valuable. Yeah. If you're listening, one way they do it is obviously by engagement and watching. So that's obviously one way to tell. But you have comments depending on platforms. You do have feedback and reviews depending on platforms and things. But one way is to just ask them.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. Like, hey, you guys have been watching my content for the last year. Of you 1,000 subscribers, I'd love to know if this is landing. I'd love to know if you're sharing this, like, legitimately. You can just ask. People will tell you.
And I feel like so many more will when you do ask. There's very few that will go out of their way to give you that specific feedback. Yeah. And then because a lot of people watch or they watch. I had a guy come up to me. It was interesting. I was in the supermarket. This guy comes up. He goes, "You Matt Shoup?" And I'm like, "Oh, what? Depends who's asking. I don't know who you are." Like, sneaks right up behind me. He goes, "I've been watching your crap online." That's what he said. And he was friendly about it. He said, "Craig, my crap." And he goes, "No, I love it." And I'd never met the guy. I was like, "Yeah, I've been watching it all year." And like, he never said anything, never commented, never at all. So I thought that was pretty cool. So many people think for content creators, they're looking at the views, they're looking at low engagement or comments, but you don't realize, like, there could just be that one person, your ideal client, that's just watching every day. Yeah. And you don't even know that. And then all of a sudden, like, we just had, what was it, Joey? Like between 6 and 10 Christian faith-based fathers from all over the country that are just finding the father-son hike of a lifetime and reaching out. It was the craziest thing. It all popped in like December, January, just a couple months ago.
Well, I mean, that goes to your point, what we were talking about with the numbers of content creators versus consumers. But to the point we were previously talking about, one other way to quantify if it's landing is that thing that you're giving away or offering. Are you being taken up on that offer? That's a very simple way to know. Like, if Matt has a free ebook that's going to help someone build an award-winning company, and Matt says his audience is entrepreneurs, value-led entrepreneurs, and I'm giving this away to help you build it and I make this content to help that person build it, if they're taking that, then it's landing.
And
it's not costing them anything to do that.
Yeah.
But you're supposedly already creating something of value. This is just an extension of that value. If they're taking you up on that, then it's landing. If they're not taking you up on something that they don't even have to buy, then you're probably not, it's not there.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are very simple ways. People show you whether or not it's landing, right? It's like, you don't have to do a lot of guessing. Like if you keep showing up, you'll know if it's resonating. Like you can look back at your videos over the last 2 years and probably be like, yeah, those weren't hidden. Those weren't hidden because not only did the numbers show it, but I can listen to it and be like, yeah, it wasn't really, my position was, I wasn't really showing up for them. I was just showing up to stay consistent or whatever it is. So you can tell. People, like I said, people aren't dumb. We are kind of dumbed down when we are scrolling and clicking and shopping, but we're not dumb.
Yeah.
So
just at the end of the day. Yeah, totally. So then with, I was just lost. I had a question and it just left. Oh man, what the hell was I going to ask you? Oh, somebody that's hesitant to create content. So they hear all that, they know they need to do it. There's just that failure to act. I mean, you did this at the conference we were at. I mean, how simple is it?
I think it's as simple as pressing record.
Like literally, right?
Yeah, I think you should tell yourself,
grab the phone,
hold
it out.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Now, granted, there is a caveat, which is getting over what people think about you.
Is that the biggest thing?
I think so. 100%.
For you too, Joey?
100%.
Yeah.
You know what my motto is? Someday.
You got a lot of mottos.
Someday.
Which one are you talking about?
Someday I won't be here on this earth, so I can't spend time on that.
Yeah. Facts. I mean, at the end of the day, I think what's happened with, because we are more, we're primarily consumers. Yep. It creates these pockets and models where we think that, that's the bar to creating content.
Yeah.
But it's a misunderstanding of what these platforms are. Yeah. So, for example, actually, I remember this conversation I had about 2.5 years ago with a gentleman at a coffee shop. And he was like, man, I know I need to be on TikTok, but I don't feel like dancing, man. And I was like, who told you have to dance? And when I said that, he stopped and he started laughing because he was like, nobody ever told me I had to dance.
Right.
But he thought that is what was working on those platforms because of what he had consumed up to that point.
And I've heard that so many times. Oh, that's for dancing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, yes, content is actually very simple to create. Now to do it well and fit it along to goals and visions, and there's some things you have to change. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that people don't exclusively show up on platforms and scroll and click and watch for you. They do it for them.
Yeah.
There's a combination of those two. Yes, you can make it and you need to make this and you want to share this and you have something interesting. Yes. But also remember, people are doing it for them. And I think it is as simple as, to start, I do think it's as simple as press record and just share.
Even if you don't have the specific avatar or your brand totally figured out, would you say it's better to just start the content? Like worry about that later. Just get into the habit and the rhythm of record, post.
Yeah, I do think that's the case because of where the platforms are. For example, I was talking to a guy yesterday. He was telling me about someone else. He's a contractor. He's 63 years old, right? His body's broken down, right? He's been working hard, but he's also in a position where he needs to work still. And he wants to be in a position to use his mind because he has all these experiences. Well, during our conversation, I said, here's what I think you should tell this guy is I think you should tell this guy to grab the phone and say, hey, my name's Jack Thomas or whatever his name is, and I'm 63 years old. You can look at these grays on my face and tell I'm in my 60s. Well, why am I dressed like this? Is because for the last 35 years, I've been a contractor. And the truth is, said platform, I'm in a position where I can't do this anymore. My body's broken. But I also know you want to see things. You want to see things being made. You want to see wonderful projects. Well, here's what I'm going to do because I want to stay active. I want to keep working, but the truth is I can't take this job anymore and I want to use social media. You're being very candid about this. I'm going to start bringing my knowledge to the platform. I'm going to start bringing my knowledge to the platform. I'm going to go to the jobs that I'm actively involved on now, and I'm going to share certain things. I'm going to go to previous jobs. I'm going to go to partners, and I'm going to share how to build something with my 35 years plus of knowledge and wisdom, because there are plenty of you out there that want to know how to do things or do things better. And so I'm going to start showing up and using my mind. I might not be able to do it right away as a job, but this is the space where I can do that because I actually have skills. I think what people need to understand is if you really have a skill, or an area of expertise, it is a great time to be a creator. Yeah. Because it's not about followership anymore. It's not about whether you're some amazing person to follow anymore. It is about what that person on the other side of the camera is interested in. Yeah. And if you just you have the ability to build companies, build teams, systems, and processes. And so if you were just starting out, rather than me getting you to try to be some amazing person who is someone that people want to follow, I'm just going to say, Matt, let's just start showing the knowledge you have, the experience, the interaction you have, the things that you're doing already. The cool things that you're doing already are your advantage. They are your point of leverage to get attention. Yeah. And for the person listening who has skills but is maybe afraid, understand that the courage, you can find the courage in the fact that you actually have skills, wisdom, experience, knowledge. Let that be the points that validate you or invalidate you as you're thinking about content, because it's not about you being this amazing person. It's about, for example, I'm trying to learn about AI. The person who really understands that and simplifies it for dummies like me, I am going to be hooked on them. I'm going to be hooked on them if I come across there. Yes. Because that's what I need right now. And that's what you have through your experience, through your knowledge. I'm going to be a fan. And I do have a playlist of people who they've shown up that way, and they make it done. They make it simplified for people who don't understand it. And whatever it is, that's the key.
So I found the most random YouTube channel. Tell me how many of these you think would be out there. Okay. So somebody that sign language interpreting Christian worship songs. Mm-hmm. How many channels do you think there are?
7.
Okay. Joey, do you think there's more or less than 7?
Actually, no, that's not true. There's more. There's. So
if you go type in, ASL, American Sign Language.
Yeah, I'm going to say
there's sign language translation.
There's 1,000.
Okay. Yeah. Channels.
Okay.
How many what do you think, Joey? Higher or lower?
Dude, I think that is very specific.
It's a pretty
5.
micro niche, right?
Yeah.
5.
There's 2.
3.
Okay.
There's 2. So I was fluent in sign language. I don't know. A lot of people don't know this. In middle school, there's a really pretty girl who was deaf, and I would just sit there and look at her, and then look at her interpreter, and wanted to learn how to talk to her. So I was pretty good at sign language. And then I just stopped doing it and pursued Spanish. And 30 years later, I've been coming across more people, and I know just enough to say like, "Hey, can I help you?" And they're like, "Oh, you know sign language?" And then I don't remember anything. So I've committed this year. I've committed to learning it, and I'm like back in it. So in the morning when I have my quiet time and my worship time, I'm like, let's see if there's any. There's one gal that actually teaches it. Will break down the songs, and there's 3 videos where she will break down the words, the bridge, the chorus, and the 4th one does the whole song. Now there's some other channels where people are just signing songs.
Okay,
but
fair.
One that actually is teaching it, at least that I've found when I've searched it with those keywords, there's one.
YouTube?
On YouTube.
Okay,
yeah, just on YouTube.
Yeah, see, I was close. I said 4 the first time.
And I haven't done like the deep dive. Now there's all kinds of other little reels and people signing songs or signing.
Well, that's what I thought. That's why I said that.
But if somebody wanted to specifically learn that, there's one channel.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and that means there's no competition, right? So go for it. Yeah. And you're going to be interesting by being categorically first, right?
And the quality of the videos, like not knocking her, it's great. I've learned quite a bit of sign language that way. And quality of the videos isn't great. she's got like the gray wall background. I mean, there's no setup, there's no lights. It's just, she's just doing her thing.
But it's meeting your need.
Exactly. Yeah. So watch that every day.
Right.
And there's no business behind it. So now I'm the business guy looking at, she could do this and have that, but it's there.
Right.
So it just reminded me how there's nothing that's too micro. Well, it's the things that are too micro niched. Maybe so much. Well, hey, if there's 1,000 people that want that, and you're the only channel, and you have 1,000 people, or even 100, and you create something to serve them, you don't need 1 million followers.
No,
1 million. You know, and I think
1,000
people
True
get
Fans
caught up on that.
Yeah,
You know,
1,000 True Fans is an essay by Kevin Kelly.
Yeah.
I think the person has to take into account their goals. What are they trying to do, right? She may not be trying to build a business off of this. If she is probably going to have to go about it a different way. But people like you are able to come and say, hey, I love your content. Here's a couple things. I don't know what you're trying to do with this. That's just a way, reciprocity, right? So if you have, commercial ambitions with what you're trying to do, yeah, it's going to change some of it.
Right. Yeah.
You can't just be like, I love little low ball glasses and I'm the foremost expert on it. That's great. But unless you can tie that to how you're going to get these into my kitchen or my podcast studio, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So in some sense, yes, you can create whatever you want. You can share whatever you're interested in, but you have to be willing to be honest about what's your goals with that and your interests. And if so, if they're in the commercial vein or any sort of monetization, you're going to have to do certain things differently. Yes, you're just going to have to. So, or you're going to have to realize that there's no space for that. Right.
Yeah.
So, but the saying that I enjoy most around content is there are no rules. There are no rules.
Yeah.
During the pandemic or the plandemic, depending on what you want to call it, people were worried.
Go there.
People were worried about. There were a lot of talks about censorship and and whether or not a platform should do that. I think that the reality is that anybody looking to create content, and even those who consume it, need to realize that there are no rules per se as a creator. But yes, there are consequences, right? Yeah. There are consequences to making something, but there's not necessarily any gateways to you actually being able to put something out. Now, once you put it out, you can deal with it. But the point being is that there are no rules for creating.
In terms of just the structure of
in terms of just being
that,
able to being able to do it.
Just do it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can do whatever you want, or you can get pretty close to doing whatever you want. Now that it might mean it's taken down. That might mean you're kicked off the platform.
Yeah.
But no one told you had to do it this way is what I mean. Yeah. And so that is a space of freedom for the person curious about social media, which is like, I don't know what I want. Well, great. Just talk about what you're interested in. Guys, I don't know what I should make, but here are some of my interests. And today's video, you're going to have 4 different things. I really love Pokemon cards. Like I said, I really love finding different insulated mugs across the internet, and I have a collection of them. Do you want to hear about that? Or I really love children's books and writing books that, what's interesting to you?
Yeah.
You ask that one. Next video, you're going to go into the Pokemon cards. Next video, you're going to go into the insulated mugs. Third video, you're going to go into the children's books. And you maybe repeat that cycle for 30 days. You'll probably find out, the children's books are hitting. So I should probably do that. Even though I have these other interests.
Do a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I should probably do that. So
it's how to guess and check and test and lean into what works, like any kind of marketing, right?
The biggest video that I've ever produced, a short form video that I've ever produced personally, was me reacting to something involving the Super Bowl and the national anthem. The second one was all the other ones that have had any significant traction have all been around another form of my interest, which is around the United States Constitution, Declaration of Independence. And
That's right. That's right. We were talking about that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but obviously my skills and expertise are around media and strategy and helping business owners. I haven't gone deep into those, putting out content in that space. Mine has been this, and it's worked. So that matters to me. It's important, and people resonate with it. So if I'm going to share, I might as well just keep sharing that. Or on LinkedIn, I've had some posts do decent, but I just share, honestly. you just do that. I think we have to accept that people use social media for themselves.
Yep.
And so you can take some of the pressure off of yourself by just being who you are. And if you can get comfortable with that over time, it's not easy. It's not, you'll be all right.
Yeah. And people are going to have their opinions and input for you, but then you're going to find your true people.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah. And they'll find you. 100%.
Love that, man.
So,
well, gosh, dude, it's been a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about content. It's funny. I was prepared to talk about a lot of other things.
We were talking about some things. So what else would you like to share, man? Like what else is on your heart? I mean, you got a lot. We got a few minutes left, but
I think
what were you hoping to share today? Because we were goofballing at the gas station about maybe sharing some outlandish things.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways we don't have enough time for it, but I do think. I think across business, across our pursuits, across interests and conversations, I think one of the things that we're having to grapple with is the need for humility. And I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking for things happening on a political stage. I'm speaking for the business community. I'm speaking for people's current economic state and the widening gap between have and have-nots and all sorts of things, the ambitions of people, the new generation that has tons of ambitions and interests. And I think there's a collective dose of humility that is the answer, so to speak. And so there's some of that there, and where that plays out, I was prepared. So one of the things I was prepared to talk about with you today was the coolness of Christianity in America and how with the Trump administration coming into office, with this new phase of Christian media and entrepreneurs and creators embracing being faith-driven creators, I think there's a great temptation for Americans, believers and non-believers, to think that Jesus is cool and to start equating the faith with their prospects of success or being successful in business. And I just think that's a mistake. And I think we're seeing a lot of people pop up. I won't name their names just out of respect to them and wanting to speak edifyingly in a manner that edifies. Just because someone says God, someone says the Most High, someone says the name of Jesus, it doesn't mean that they know them. And so, for example,
they're following a trend.
For example, I can.
Would you say they're following that trend? Because you can see it now, and I don't know if it's crossed that chasm or that point of, the snowball's been pushed up the hill from the people that were really doing it and really leaning into it, but you're seeing it and hearing that language a lot more.
100%. And I think this is why I'm saying I think there's a space right now that's been created that has made it okay to be a person of faith. But that's a gift. That's not a given. That's not automatic. And I think because it exists, people are stepping in and exploiting it. But the truth is do you live up to the scriptures you read or that you say you read? And you'll know it. For example, if I was to come on this podcast and curse a bunch and be running just like doling it out, I'm not talking about the one-offs. I'm not talking about the person who, they're working through it. I'm talking about complete disregard.
Yes. Yeah.
You'd have actually every reason as a fellow brother in Christ to say, you're full of it, bro. You're not as close as you think you are. You don't actually, and I think that's the reason why I bring this up is because I think that's what's happening is that Christianity is in a space. We got a president talking about he's creating a faith office. Right, it's in a space where it's being buffered and it's okay, but that doesn't make someone's faith genuine. And for the person out there who is unsure or doesn't know, I worry sometimes about the presentations they're getting because a big mistake American Christians are making is their confidence in the faith or their belief and devotion to the Lord Jesus is being equated to their personal flourishing. So what happens if your business goes away? What happens if your wife gets sick of cancer and dies? What happens if your child dies? What if happens if everyone dies? What happens if you lose this? Like, what happens then? Are you still a Christian? Right? And I think if that's the case, you show up differently than you do now. And it's not everybody, but I was prepared to talk about some of that because I think the world is watching. And the last thing we need is to think that Jesus is the way to become a millionaire, or Jesus is the way to be a successful entrepreneur, or we talk about kingdom business. That Jesus is the way to make impact in business. He is, but it's also not that like. Yeah. So
there's a lot there to.
Yeah, there is. We don't have enough time, but
we should come back and hit another episode because there's so many things there. So as a Christian, we're both Christian,
right.
Jesus following business owners. So I definitely see where that's being exploited. Like, okay, like I won't say who either, but was out at a conference and spent time with somebody who states that. I'm like, nope. Yeah. I just don't, not what I'm seeing. Not what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
But they're in that space and they know that. So the space that you're seeing the language, you're seeing a lot more of the content. It's now okay to be in that space. It's now becoming an actual demographic that can be targeted.
It's a whole thing.
Being targeted.
It's a whole thing.
And then would you say there's also people that truly do not follow Christ nor believe in that, yet say they do? Or
I think there's people that think that they do.
Think that they do.
Yeah.
There's some that don't, that just lie and say they do. There's some that think they do.
And then there's some that genuinely do.
And then there's some that genuinely do.
Yeah.
Also where there is an opportunity to serve people that, whether they genuinely do, think they do, right? Because I believe that business is a platform. Like it's a platform for you to share your faith and share the love of Christ with people.
Yeah.
By truly going out and caring about them and their story and their heart and serving them. And you make money doing that. Now that gets sticky and tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got that layer of money and business and components and intention. So how's that received? But that's a platform. Yeah. And you can't just compartmentalize that. It's in everything you do. It's your family. It's your friendships. So business should be different. Then all of a sudden you just see somebody who is just all of a sudden they're in the business space.
Right.
Following Jesus, maybe, but who are we to judge?
I think
we can observe consistent actions and draw conclusions. About things for sure.
Well, and the truth is that as Christians, we should judge each other, not to tear down and be judges over each other, but there's right judgment to practice that we are to actually be
correct. Yes.
To be. If I'm your brother in Christ, you're my brother in Christ.
You're to hold me to that standard.
You have every right to be like,
yes.
D, on that podcast, you were tripping. You were saying it. And I came back, you're judging me. No, actually, we have a higher standard. We serve a Lord who is this, who is this. And if he's in us, we're going to be this way. And
you're called biblically, was it Paul and I don't know the verse or the book but we are called as Christians to hold each other
100%.
To that standard. But then we're also said you also can't hold somebody to a standard that they don't follow.
Right. You're not going to be sitting there. You're not going to sit there and pick apart the world on every single thing. They're of the world. Mm-hmm. They're not of Christ. They're not naming Christ as their Lord and Savior or as my personal Lord. They're not doing that, right? So,
they're not stating that they follow those standards. So who are we to say for them to follow that? You can introduce Jesus to them, but we are called to do that. To and for each other.
Right. And I think because we've entered this space where it's kind of comfortable to talk about the faith and be a faith-driven entrepreneur and faith-driven creator and create content, that some of the standards are becoming lax. The theological standards, the personal conduct and character standards are because we're just happy to be able to do it. And but the reason why the standards are lax a bit is because we're not reading the scriptures. If you're a Christian listening to this, or even if you're not a Christian listening to this, and you know someone who is, one question I posted about this recently is one question you should be asking your Christian friends, your fellow brothers in Christ, or those who you know are Christians and you're not, is how often do you read the Bible, and what are you reading? Yeah. What are you gathering? How is your faith intersecting with your life? Are you would you say you're falling short of what God is calling you to, according to Scripture? How do you think about the things that we're having conversations about and have to grapple with? What scriptures can you show me? Because that's what's happening is, and we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be, this, whatever. But are you reading the actual scriptures? Do you know what the texts say? Because Christians believe that that's the word of God. And so if I'm going forth and I'm saying I'm in God, I'm in Christ, what I do, what I say should line up with what is written. And in the degree to which it's not, it's the degree to which I'm either deceiving myself or deceiving others, or I'm walking in sin or whatever it is. And
it's just falling short. You got to check yourself and have a filter and have other people that know you and love you, and you have that that relationship to be able to do that.
But the truth is that believers and non-believers are not reading the Bible today, and that's not everyone. There are even non-believers that are reading because they're curious, but we have to make that commonplace again as faith-driven entrepreneurs, as those who understand and know our Lord through His word spoken, not just through the attendance of Sunday services and music we consume and the channel, but I spend time with God and receive from His word and through the ministry of His Spirit. Yeah. Like, we have to be those who do that.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I wish we would have started talking about that earlier, because there's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's come back and do it again, man.
I would love
for
this.
Sure.
It's been a blast to be able to thank you for creating a space for me to come on here.
Well, I'm happy that this was your first podcast.
This is my first solo pod.
I love everything you shared about the content and and just in your heart and your faith, and I know that about you.
Yeah, I'm really grateful, man. This is an awesome opportunity to be able to be here. And what kind of world do we live in where we can just sit down and have conversations and be like, let's just talk.
Let's just talk. Put it on the internet. Yeah, see what people have to say.
How blessed are we?
I love it.
So
I love what I do, man. Thanks for being part of this. I mean, you helped put this together.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have the coffee machines firing up. We got coffee bar people coming in soon. You gonna hang for coffee bar?
I'm gonna hang for a little bit. I have a lunch date.
You got some with kids, right? Yeah. Cool. Well, dude, let's wrap it up, man. Everybody on the show wraps up same way. You wrote down a statement, and we gave you no notice.
No notice at all.
The statement you want to leave with the world when you leave it. What is it?
Just for the record, I was like trying to hash it out on the back of the paper. I said greatness is not defined by your output, but your inputs, your willingness to apprehend the truth and move in light of it in humility, preparing along the way to meet your Creator.
Darius Bell.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks, man. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, drop a comment below. Make sure to watch the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe. If you're a business owner looking to improve your life, leadership, faith, family, and business, I've got a couple of free things that I'd love to share with you. So go to mattshoup.com and download my free tools. I guarantee these couple of things will get you started off in the right direction.